there are people who feel very strongly about it, and there are people who don't understand how anyone could think the other way. And so not to, through any of my research, defend or, say one is right or wrong, but just almost parallel it to, like climate change, any other issue in which people disagree, and they're pretty strongly opposing areas of thought on it.
With those 4 individuals that declined to participate, when you approached them, did any of them give any indication of why they declined, or?
There was an individual who just was, she was just like, her daughter took it, but she was, not really feeling it. She was not feeling like picking up a pen that day. I think I only had one person who was just a bit skeptical of the process of seeing a consent form in front of them.
Can you tell us what you actually did to take the survey? They took it on paper, or did you go around with a clipboard and ask them? That didn't come across to me.
Right. So I just, I worked at the zoo 4 days a week, and so it was printed out on paper. The consent form was in front of it because I was handing it to them on a clipboard to take. It was paper and pen.
So they had a big lawyer's thing first?
Yeah, I had, on advice of the IRB, I had to have a consent form since I was handing them something. So that was definitely, I know I was like, oh, this is, this may discourage people. I thought the response rate actually may be lower because there was that big consent form. But of course, I had a bit of a dialogue for the consent form when I was approaching them, saying, would you like to take this survey for my research, and then say this is a consent form, here's an overlay of what it's saying, voluntary.
So you spoke to them, gave them a clipboard,
and then allowed them to take
just had 3 pages, the consent form, and then
they were either randomly given survey A or survey B to take.
Oh, they just had one or the other.
Yes.
And the survey was just one question. So
Yes, it was just when I showed survey version
it
A.
Didn't take very long.
Not at all, which was also good for being in person. If it was a
consent
long
form was most of the problem.
being kind of debating over whether to even do it took more time than the survey itself. So the first, they would either get this or this.
Okay.
But every survey was kind of begin with a consent form, but which of course, I had to. Like, I know it looks good.
So B, they had both questions.
Right, so B.
Okay, and did you switch the order of the answers? In other words, did you do half of them with the answers and flip-flop?
Half of them with
Well, I mean, like the emotional on top, or because there's one issue, say on ballots in voting, they often rotate. We don't, I don't think in Louisiana because we number them, but some states will randomize the order on the ballot because people tend to go for high on the ballot. So in other words, if you have 2 statements like that, maybe they always pick the first one.
Yeah, I know. I definitely read some papers that were talking about questionnaire formatting.
Yeah. And so one way you randomize it so that it's different times, but you didn't.
I would like to do that, and one of the things I said in my thesis, I know, is I wasn't able to get tested again to see my results for time's sake and for kind of the sake of this process. But you're completely right. No, I know. I like that idea though.
And on this one, you think you didn't get a significant difference anyway? Like it would have been more of an issue if you had, because then you would have been wondering.
But we don't know that. It might be that people tend to choose the first one.
But if they tend to choose the first one, then why didn't you get a significant difference? Because they're always in the same order.
Because they chose the first one. The logic is the first one, right?
Right. So in the graph, she should have had a higher bar on the logic versus the emotional.
You still could have an effect, but not enough of it. It could be what throws.
Let's look at survey A.
Okay.
That's awful close.
So survey A, the first answer was keeping, which was one they least selected. They selected the second and the fourth.
Yeah.
So that's some
evidence. They
evidence.
read through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's some evidence that they took time to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was also why Chelsea was trying to keep this short. This was really one thing that she wanted to do, was to emphasize convenience.
Yeah.
Especially in person.
Yeah. So
It was
that's a good
yeah.
argument. It's probably they didn't. Okay.
Right.
Did you have any process to the location in the zoo in which you would hand out the survey for that day, or would you be stationed somewhere for your internship and then pass out the survey to those individuals, or would you go to a place where it was like maybe the most popular exhibit and there would be a lot of people?
So it was actually a pretty convenient setup on my part. I, as an intern, I was a large carnivore marine mammal intern and an education intern. So I did a bit of a hybrid internship, if you will. And if you're looking at the layout of the Memphis Zoo, my role as the large carnivore marine mammal intern took place on the actual floor opposite of the entrance to the zoo. So I was, covering the whole expanse of the zoo on this side, but when I was an education intern, we're actually located right at the front of the zoo, which is also where the food court is. So that's where you get a lot of people traffic of all ages. And so depending on what day I was doing, I was actually rotating around. I'd be walking through, asking to make sure I wasn't just getting certain areas, but even on the days when I was at the front near kind of the most busy area of the zoo, which is also where there was like a children's fountain. And so I tried to cover most of the zoo and not just stay in one location. And just visually speaking, the Memphis Zoo has a pretty diverse audience. They also do, like a lot of accredited zoos will do, kind of a resident free day to make sure that they're opening up an opportunity. And so every week they do, after 3 o'clock, a free day for any Memphis residents to come and be at the zoo. And so narrating the shows as well, we saw a lot. I kind of got to see a lot of visual traffic in that regard.
So Chelsea, I have a question that I'd like to ask while the public is still here. And it's just something that honestly only just occurred to me today. What did the Memphis Zoo call its habitats? Was it like the chimp house, or was it the chimp habitat? What words did they use to describe the physical places?
Right, so if you're thinking about the primates, they have Primate Canyon, they have Cat Country, they have China. But the area I worked in was Teton Trek.
Okay, so these weren't the old archaic chimp house,
Right.
bird, reptile house.
Very.
So your audience wasn't necessarily primed to select housing because they kept seeing house.
No.
These are modern.
That's a good point.
They're modern, they're
Yeah.
decorated, they're themed in a way, of course trying to move toward that mission of this isn't animals in cages, but trying to play more to this is.
There's definitely marketing in the names
There's
of their
marketing,
exhibits.
Of course,
Yeah.
with most things. But yeah, and if you think about like Teton Trek, Northwest Passage, they're appealing to geographical, regional areas, home-based areas, cat country, alliteration. There's a lot of different marketing devices. My mom worked in marketing all her life, so I know she probably thinks about that a lot.
But even the farm animals were Once Upon a Farm was the name of that exhibit.
Yeah. That's so many, LSU
Well,
probably.
that's further evidence that the people were really picking words, they weren't predisposed.
Right, and I would like to, think again with that there are the people coming through there, that it's a diverse audience, and like you said, they're not predisposed to any answers.
Well, does the public have any additional questions before we